Hello and welcome. Today we're going to explore heart rate zones. We'll look at what they are, how you can find yours, and maybe most importantly, we'll uncover the really interesting connection between your heart rate and your brain's ability to focus and learn.
Really, it all comes down to this one question. How hard is my body working right now? Instead of just guessing whether an activity felt easy or hard, using heart rate zones gives you a way to actually measure your intensity. And that helps you build a routine that you can count on.
Okay, so let's get right into the main idea here. Heart rate zones are really just a simple way to measure your exercise intensity. This lets you train with a clear purpose, whether you're aiming for recovery, building endurance, or doing a high-intensity workout. So what are they exactly? Well, to put it simply, heart rate zones are just different levels of intensity, and they're based on how fast your heart is beating, usually measured in beats per minute. On your page, you'll see a spot to define this. Go ahead and pause here to write down your own definition. Putting it into your own words is a great way to make sure the idea really sticks. Now here's what's really interesting. Heart rate zones are not one size fits all. You and a friend could do the exact same workout, run the same mile at the same speed, and your bodies could be in completely different heart rate zones. That's because these zones are incredibly personal. Your heart rate can be influenced by so many different things on any given day. Things like your overall fitness level, how much sleep you got last night, your stress levels, if you're hydrated, even things like caffeine or your own genetics all play a part in shaping your personal zones. So thinking about that list, you can probably see a few reasons your zones might look different from somebody else's. Go ahead and pause here to fill in section 2 of your workbook. It's really useful to start building that self-awareness. So how do you actually find these zones? Well, let's look at 2 common ways to get an estimate. Method A is a pretty simple way. You just take the number 220 and subtract your age to get a rough maximum heart rate. It's a great starting point. Method B is a bit more personalized because it also uses your resting heart rate, which helps create more accurate ranges for you.
So looking at those two, which one feels like the easiest way for you to get started? A lot of people begin with the simple age formula, and that is a perfectly fine place to begin just to get a general idea.
And the good news is you don't need any expensive equipment to do this. You can use a watch or your phone, a fitness tracker if you have one, or you can just count your pulse manually on your wrist or your neck. You can also just pay attention to what's called perceived exertion, which is really just a way of saying how hard it feels. And you can use a very practical tool called the talking test.
So take a look at these options in your workbook. Which of those tools could you easily use first? The great thing is, you probably already have what you need to get started. Let's make these zones feel a little more real by using that talk test. It's incredibly simple. In zones 1 and 2, the effort feels pretty easy, kind of like a light walk, and you can hold a normal conversation. When you move into zone 3, things get a bit more challenging. You can still talk, but probably not in long, easy sentences. And once you're up in zones 4 and 5, the effort feels hard. Talking is really difficult, and you might only be able to get a word or 2 out at a time. It's really helpful to think about what each of those zones feels like to you. Based on that, which zone do you think you spend the most time in during a typical week? Is it mostly that lower intensity, or do you find yourself pushing into those higher zones? Okay, so now let's make a really important connection, the one between all this exercise and your brain. We're going to explore why understanding your heart rate isn't just about fitness. It's also a powerful tool for improving your ability to focus and learn. So your brain works by sending signals through these incredible cells called neurons. When your neurons are firing well, your thinking feels clear and fast, you feel responsive. But when they aren't firing well, your brain can feel kind of foggy, slow, maybe even irritable or overwhelmed. I think we've all felt that before. Think about that for a moment. What does it actually feel like for you when your brain is sharp and focused versus when it's feeling foggy and slow? Just being able to recognize that difference is a really important first step. Go ahead and pause to write that down. So, how does exercise help with this? Well, it works in 3 key ways. First, it gives your brain better delivery. When you get your heart rate up, you increase blood flow, which brings more oxygen and nutrients to your brain. Second, it creates better chemistry by shifting your brain chemicals in a way that supports attention and mood. And third, over time, it actually supports better growth, helping you build stronger pathways for learning. So the main point here is that exercise helps your brain run better right now, and it also supports your brain's health for the long term. That's through better delivery of nutrients, better brain chemistry, and better growth. Now let's think Think about that immediate effect, that focus after movement feeling. How do you personally feel right after you move your body? For some people, it's a feeling of being more focused. For others, it's feeling calmer. And some people might feel a little bit tired. Your response is personal, and the goal is just to learn your own pattern.
Take a moment to think about what that feeling is for you. Do you notice that you feel calmer, more alert, or maybe something else? Knowing your own pattern is the key to using movement as a strategy to help you focus.
Now let's talk about how to actually apply all of this. We can use what we've learned to make a simple plan and just reflect on where we are right now.
So how can you put this into practice? You can start small. First, just pick one activity you already do, like walking to school or playing a sport, and just take a guess at which heart rate zone you think you're in. Then, just check in with your current routine. And finally, think of one small step you can take this week. Maybe it's as simple as just trying to talk test on your next walk. So let's quickly recap the most important points. First, heart rate zones are a simple way to measure your exercise intensity. Second, remember that your zones are personal, so self-awareness is key. Third, you can use simple, free tools like the talk test to get started. And finally, that physical effort directly supports your brain's performance and your ability to focus. Now you can finish up the Lesson 8.1 page in your workbook. By understanding your heart rate zones, you have a powerful tool to train smarter, not just harder. Next time, we'll explore how to use this knowledge to build an exercise routine that really works for you and your goals. Thanks for joining me.